He's trying to silence me. He's afraid of what I would share, and that's why you see these actions from Donald Trump. I don't want to see a race war as Donald Trump does.
And we begin tonight with Omarosa's secret recording and the new salvo in the war between President Trump and his former White House aide. Omarosa today releasing the recording she says was made in the Situation Room, claiming it's from the moment she was fired by Chief of Staff John Kelly. She goes on to claim Kelly threatened her, telling her not to make trouble about being fired. Omarosa also doubling down on claims she heard audio of the president using the N-word. The White House launching a full counterattack. ABC's Tara Palmieri leads us off.
Tonight, Omarosa unveiling what she says are secret recordings she made inside the White House Situation Room when Chief of Staff John Kelly fired her.
I think it's important to understand that if we make this a friendly departure, we can all be, you can look at your time here in the White House as a year of service to the nation.
Omarosa saying she felt threatened by Kelly during the closed-door meeting.
And then you can go on without any type of difficulty in the future relative to your reputation.
Now Omarosa blaming herself for her role in the administration.
I was complicit with this White House deceiving this nation. They continue to deceive this nation because they have no commitment, no true commitment to seeing diversity in this White House. There's no excuse that there's not another African-American assistant to the president. No excuse whatsoever. And he is doing damage to the republic.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption. We will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy.
I'm not surprised. In fact, Donald Trump brags about using litigation to intimidate people. He's trying to silence me. He's afraid of what I would share, and that's why you see these actions from Donald Trump. There are very distinct ways that we're different. One, I want to see this nation united as opposed to divided. I don't want to see a race war as Donald Trump does.
But the greatest threat to Western civilization today is not Russia. It's probably, more than anything else, ourselves and some of the horrible USA-hating people that represent us. It's the abolition of our national borders. It's the failure to police our own cities.
Trump already said during an emergency, which he considered Black Lives Matter, that protest, which was instigated, to be an emergency, that it would be an excuse to use the military against American citizens.
Not our job, unless in case of emergency, which I consider now to be an emergency. It's not our job to go in and clean out the cities. That's supposed to be done by local law enforcement.
Now, this is all a setup. That was a dry run, and that was instigated by provocateurs. I'll show you that.
Dubbed the Umbrella Man on social media, he was captured in this viral video breaking windows at this AutoZone, dressed in black, holding an umbrella. In a court filing this week, police identifying him as a white supremacist. According to court documents, the man also spray painted the words "Free Expletive for Everyone Zone" on the business's doors. Not long after, looting and fires began in the area, police say. An officer telling the court, until Umbrella Man, the protest had been relatively peaceful. This individual's sole aim was to incite violence.
But don't you see how that's a dry run, how this civil unrest provides the emergency for the government to go in and start clearing out the city.
As the National Guard rolled into Minneapolis, President Trump urged Minnesota officials to get tougher with protesters.
They've got to be tough. They've got to be smart. We have our military ready, willing, and able if they ever want to call our military. But we can have troops on the ground very quickly.
Do immigrants from Venezuela deserve asylum in the U.S., and why haven't you given them temporary protected status?
We're looking at that, and we're very much involved with the Venezuela crisis.
Will you give them temporary protected status?
So we're looking at that very strongly.
A structure set up by the Trump administration allows them to go through the asylum process in the United States. They're fleeing Venezuela and Colombia and Cuba.
I thought that President Trump made them wait in Mexico for the asylum process.
Not for these countries. That would be, for example, immigrants from Mexico. They're processed on the other side of the border. But these are countries where the Trump administration specifically designated that they could seek asylum in our borders. They've come here for that reason.
Okay, well,
during his last term, Trump gave the Venezuelan immigrants asylum here in the United States. When he was speaking to the migrants in Florida, he said, "Thank you for being here."
David fled into Venezuela's treacherous southern jungle. Eventually, David reached Brazil, where he was welcomed with open arms. Today, David lives in exile in the United States, where he continues to speak up for the Venezuelan people. And I want to especially thank the Venezuelan exile community that has done so much to support President Guaido, to organize aid for their compatriots, and to do just a lot back home. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. We're with you.
Trump speaking to Venezuelan immigrants in the audience in Florida, he says, "We are thankful that you are here. We are with you." Now, this was after they stirred up the whole civil war situation there in Venezuela. Then you got all these Venezuelan immigrants coming for asylum in the USA, and he says, "We're thankful that you're here."
I want to especially thank the Venezuelan exile community. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. We're with you.
Now, he said that to the Venezuelan immigrants during his last term, and watch how all these immigrants are coming from Venezuela, and this is who the gangs are, quote unquote, that they're now demonizing to say, oh, these Venezuelan gangs are coming.
This is part of a mass exodus from once oil-rich Venezuela. According to UN data, 7.7 million people have fled the country since 2015.
And I want to especially thank the Venezuelan exile community. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. We're with you.
Well, this has become a national story. The supposed takeover of some Aurora apartment complexes by a violent Venezuelan gang.
And we've got to be tough, because if you see what's happening in Aurora, Colorado today, did you see that? Where Venezuelan gang members have taken over parts of the city. They've taken over apartment houses.
Marisa, police here in Aurora, Colorado tell us they do not believe that there is any gang takeover here at the Lowry Apartments, the Edgett Lowry Apartments, which are right behind me, as some on social media have purported. Now, this all deals with Tren de Aragua. They are a well-known and powerful criminal organization from Venezuela.
The city of Aurora is contradicting itself on the extent of Venezuelan gang activity in that city. The mayor told Fox News this week the gang is collecting rent at a troubled apartment complex. The interim police chief, in a video press release, says that's not happening.
I'm not saying that there's not gang members that don't live in this community, but what we're learning out here is that gang members have not taken over this complex. We've really made an effort the last few days to just really ask the specific questions and the direct questions in terms of the gang activity and who's actually making sure that people aren't paying rent to gang leaders or gang members, that's not happening. And we've discovered here today and yesterday talking to so many residents that that's not the case.
Uproar about it. They think the Venezuelan gangs are coming to take us over. Well, Trump's the one that told them they could have asylum here. He's the one that granted that. He's the one that said he's glad they're here. And then they come, and now he's using them as a scapegoat for the kickoff of this Rex 84 plan.
The president is granting temporary legal status to nearly 500,000 Venezuelan migrants who are already in this country.
The King Alfred Plan, the United States of America King Alfred Plan, code-named Rex 84. Here's what it says, and I'm going to read quickly. In the event of widespread and continuing and coordinated racial disturbances in the United States, King Alfred, at the discretion of the president. In other words, when the president of the United States, not Congress, not the House, not the Senate, not the House of Representatives, not the Senate, when the president declares this emergency, it's to be implemented immediately.
As President-elect Donald Trump taking to his social media platform, Truth Social, confirming that he will be preparing to declare a national emergency and plans to use military assets to reverse the Biden, quote, invasion through a mass deportation program. That was shared by conservative political activist Tom Fitton. And as you can see, Donald Trump saying true with 3 exclamations.
I don't know how you can run for the president of the United States and allow people to pour into our country. And we're talking about seriously criminal people, many of these people, and they come from all over the world. It's not just South America. They're coming in from Africa. They're coming in from the Middle East. The Congo, that's a hot place right now. A lot of people coming in from prisons in the Congo. They're coming into our country.
And allow due process so that no one's rights are trampled, but the ability to go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession
or
of that
might
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
What is your view of silencers? Would you like to see those back?
Well, I'd like to think about it. I mean, nobody's talked about silencers very much. They did talk about the bump stock, and we had it banned.
Avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people. Avoid discretionary travel. And avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts.
Many people who are allowed to keep working are finding it's really slow because so many people are staying at home.
Now that more restaurants and businesses are requiring proof of vaccination, what should you do about your vaccine card? We've been
He said, I think Donald Trump is an artful liar. I think he is a greedy, vicious, and arrogant man.
Well, I don't know, is that supposed to be a compliment or not? I'm not sure.